It's 6:30 in the morning. We're in Hastings, in among what remains of its fishing industry. We're on our way to see a local fisherman who's going to take us out to sea.
It's a saltwater drug. You just can't get it out your blood or out your system. It's a strange fix. You get out there and you're your own boss. You've got no one hanging over you, you've got no bosses clocking in or out. My office is better than most people's, isn't it? When the weather's good.
This is John and Warren. We're joining them on their boat because they make a living out of the fishing trade, but they work within crippling limits. They're all bound up with Britain's fishing quota and how little of it is open to small boats like this.
Quota is our biggest issue, really, still, no matter what happens. See, normally we survive on our spring and early summer for our sole fishery to make us go through the seasons now, because where we don't get no wintertime quota, we're struggling all the time to keep a year's wages going. This year, we're going to struggle during the winter quite severely. You know, we're actually living on savings at the moment because we're just not earning enough to make a living.
So of that £6 or £7 that I'd pay for a fish like that in the shop, how much of that would go to you?
£1.
And sort of when you look to the future and you think you'll be able to do it in 10, 15 years' time?
I don't think so, mate. Really, I don't, no.
And if you can't do this for a living, what will you do?
Saying Tesco's or something like that. I much prefer this.
This is a job you chose because it's the great outdoors, isn't it? It's the last of the great white hunters.
Right, I'm back on dry land now. They're going back out to sea to bring in a few more nets, and I quite fancy a cup of tea. Boats like John's make up over 75% of the British fishing fleet, but they only have access to around 4% of our European fishing quota. Historically, the government tended to leave small fishermen like this alone, but about 5 or 6 years ago, all that changed, and they were suddenly subject to strict limits and close monitoring. And by that point, most of our fishing quota had been given away to much bigger interests. Now, 2012 marks the once-in-a-decade review of the EU's common fisheries policy, and the fishermen here are desperately pushing for at least some change, and they're getting organised.
We had to form a national organisation a few years ago to give a voice to the inshore sector.
What changed in 2006 as regards how much you were monitored?
At my quota, I got 5 people derive a living from my boat, and I'm allowed to catch in the height for the season when cod is, we can't avoid it, 1.4 kilos a day, which isn't half a fish. So my boat's allowed to catch half a cod and then dump everything else from there.
This comes out every week, does it?
Yes.
And the first 3 pages, all this is about is the quota system, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All of it?
All of it.
That's all there is, really. That's the issue.
The big issue is quota. It's those who've got it and those who are asking for a fair balance because they was left out of the equation.
This is an old human story, isn't it? The dispossessed and the possessed, and the haves and the have-nots.
Who are the dispossessed? Who are the possessed? Because we don't know who the possessed are. They may hide behind producer organisations and be members of them. There's dummy licences, whenever you buy a licence and you attach quota to it and utilise it for private financial gain. Now this quota is given to the British fishing industry. It isn't given for people to make money from as a public resource.
That's today's catch in there. How have you done?
You really need to know?
Yeah.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Might just about cover the diesel money and a pack of the fags each, if we're lucky. I probably won't make anything.
Nothing at all?
No. Warren will earn his wages, boat will get hers, and that'll be it. If this was to go, how much further does it go? There's enough car parks, there's enough amusement parks. You know, this fishery's been here for thousands of years and generations of people. And just to lose it, it's crazy, you know.
Pretty much since human beings came down from the trees, they've been doing something very simple. Going out in boats, putting down nets, and eating the fish that they catch. Now, a combination of big business and the state has managed to make that so complicated that you probably need a degree to understand the system. It's a system that was put in place under the auspices of conservation, but what it's resulted in is commodification and a very familiar story. People who really add nothing to the process making a great deal of money. Meanwhile, people who've been fishing here for generations and should really be able to carry on doing so can't see much of a future, and a once thriving centre of fishing is quickly turning to rust.